Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're going to take a massive global wellness trend, the weighted eye mask, and treat it as a vital clue. It's our key to uncovering the invisible biological forces that actually shape your nervous system, your deep sleep, and ultimately, your longevity. We're looking way beneath the surface of a simple bedtime habit to reveal the hidden operating system of human rest. See, we're not just going to look at isolated facts here. We want to see exactly how your behavior directly influences your biology, how that biology influences aging, and how aging changes the trajectory of an entire human life. So here is our diagnostic scan for today's deep dive. We'll start with 1, the craving for pressure. Then 2, the oculocardiac reflex. 3, the parasympathetic cascade. 4, the unseen mechanical danger. And finally, 5, the biological operating manual. Let's trace this single physical habit down into our neural circuitry.
Part 1. The craving for pressure. We begin by examining a deeply modern behavioral symptom. Millions of people are actively seeking to place 100 to 400 grams of physical weight over their eyes every single night just to get to sleep. It's a fascinating phenomenon when you really stop to think about it.
Why, in an age of advanced sleep therapeutics, smart mattresses, and wearables, are we strapping heavy sacks of beads to our faces just to power down? Well, to understand this intense craving, we have to recognize that your brain doesn't just respond to a single cue to fall asleep, it responds to a stack of environmental signals. Absolute darkness removes the biological wake signal, which stops environmental light from suppressing your melatonin and delaying your circadian rhythm. But that physical weight, that deep touch pressure provides a completely separate mechanical cue to your nervous system. For millions of years, the sensation of being physically held or swaddled signaled absolute safety to the most primitive parts of the human brain. When you apply gentle weight to the body, you are literally hacking into an ancient survival circuit that tells your nervous system the threat has passed and it's finally safe to let your guard down.
But you know, this leaves us with a really profound, highly specific mystery to solve. How exactly does the simple act of pressing on the delicate tissue of the eye forcefully calm an anxious mind? What is the hidden architecture connecting the surface of your eyelids to the deepest centers of your brain?
Let's find out in Part 2. The oculocardiac reflex. The answer to our mystery lies in a highly conserved brainstem pathway that was first documented by medical science way back in 1908.
It is an absolute masterpiece of evolutionary wiring. The eye isn't just a sensory organ for seeing the world. It acts as a direct mechanical gateway to your heart and your autonomic nervous system. This is called the oculocardiac reflex. When you apply gentle, sustained pressure to the eyeball, you aren't just blocking out ambient light. You are physically pressing a biological off switch. It's an oxygen-conserving reflex initially designed by evolution for trauma or diving, intentionally slowing your entire physiological engine down to protect your vital organs. And we can map this hidden mechanism step by step. It's incredible. Physical weight triggers microscopic mechanoreceptors in your eye. These receptors send an immediate signal up the ophthalmic branch of the trigeminal nerve, traveling deep into your brainstem, specifically to the medulla oblongata, the brain's autonomic control center. The brainstem processes this physical stretch signal and instantly fires a command down the vagus nerve directly to the sinoatrial node. That's your heart's natural pacemaker. The vagus nerve commands it to suppress its firing rate, so the chain reaction is absolute. You put weight on your eye and your heart physically, mechanically slows down.
Which brings us to Part 3, the parasympathetic cascade. Because this localized reflex doesn't just slow down your heartbeat in isolation,
it actually triggers a massive, interconnected biological cascade throughout your entire body. This process brilliantly illustrates how manipulating the eye increases your vagal tone. The vagus nerve is the master switch of your parasympathetic nervous system. Modern life, with its endless emails and chronic low-grade anxiety, locks our biology into a hyper-alert, sympathetic fight-or-flight state. By stimulating the vagus nerve through eye pressure, you are forcing the body's hardware out of that stress state and locking it into a restorative, rest and digest state. That's why people crave the weight. They're desperate for that off switch.
Let's just slow down for a second and look at the sheer scale of this biological shift. By engaging this reflex, you are actively lowering cortisol. And cortisol isn't just a stress hormone. Chronic cortisol degrades your collagen, accelerates cellular aging, and violently fragments your deep sleep. Simultaneously, this reflex increases calming neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA, optimizing central melatonin production, and it even stabilizes your digestive tract. You're literally using a physical weight to shift your entire biological operating state. As one researcher perfectly summed it up, the gentle pressure encourages vagal tone, activating the parasympathetic nervous system to bring your body out of fight or flight and into rest. The crucial takeaway here is that this mechanism provides an undeniable sense of physiological relief. It acts as a direct biological override for an overactive mind. So of course, millions of people crave this exact sensation when they're lying in bed, feeling incredibly tired but painfully wired.
But this leads us to part 4, the unseen mechanical danger. Just as it seems we've uncovered the ultimate biological hack for perfect rest, we have to investigate the unseen, potentially devastating consequence here.
Because exploiting this delicate hardware for 8 continuous hours a night carries a massive risk, perfectly illustrated by the numbers 10 to 21. That specific range, 10 to 21 millimeters of mercury, represents the safe clinical baseline for your intraocular pressure, or IOP. So your eye is essentially a highly calibrated, pressurized sphere filled with fluid. This delicate internal pressure balance literally determines the lifespan of your optic nerve. When you add external weight to the eye, you drive up that internal pressure. If that pressure pushes past this threshold and stays too high for too long, it literally cuts off the microvascular blood supply to the optic nerve. Slowly, silently, those nerve cells begin to die. This is absolutely not a biological variable you want to tamper with.
So we are forced to weigh a stark biological trade-off. On one side, we have the immense neurological bliss of the oculocardiac reflex, the faster sleep onset, the lowered arousal, the systemic calm. But on the other side, we have serious ophthalmic risk. Sustained overnight compression can cause intraocular pressure spikes. It can actually warp the corneal epithelium, leading to permanently blurred vision. It compromises the eye's natural fluid drainage and can even contribute to floppy eyelid syndrome, where the structural integrity of the eyelid gets chronically compromised.
The clinical data reveals exactly what happens when we manipulate gravity and pressure over time. Strapping up to 400 grams to your face for an entire night creates totally unnatural gravitational vectors. Think about it. That is dead weight pushing down on a fluid-filled sphere for 8 continuous hours. Normal sleeping posture keeps you safely in that 12 to 16 baseline range, but adding that much sustained weight chronically elevates eye pressure. It creates a structural bottleneck, risking really serious damage over months and years of cumulative use.
So how do we fix this? That's part 5, the biological operating manual. To protect our vision while still optimizing our deep sleep and longevity, we have to learn the exact, scientifically backed parameters for safely operating this machinery. The operating manual is incredibly clear, and we must be deliberate about these rules. You can use the heavy weighted masks, those 200 to 400 gram ones, strictly for a brief 5 to 15-minute nervous system reset before bed. Trigger that reflex, lower your daytime cortisol, shift into parasympathetic rest, and then take the weight off. Do not wear them overnight. For your actual 6 to 8 hour deep sleep, you got to switch to a lightweight, 3D contoured mask under 50 grams that blocks light entirely without physically touching the delicate cornea. And there are absolute contraindications here. If you have glaucoma or if you've had recent eye surgery like LASIK or cataract removal, weighted masks are a serious, non-negotiable medical hazard. Just never use them.
Ultimately, you have to remember this. You do not need physical weight to maintain deep sleep. True restorative sleep relies on consistent, absolute darkness. That darkness is what allows the brain's glymphatic system, your brain's nightly power wash cycle, to open up and flush away metabolic waste. It's a profound, life-extending healing process that absolutely requires removing light. But it certainly does not require crushing your corneas all night long to achieve it.
So as you consider how to regulate your own nervous system tonight, ask yourself this final question. Are you optimizing your biological hardware or blindly wearing it out in the pursuit of rest? Every habit, even one as simple as wearing a sleep mask, is a direct interaction with a complex, interconnected biological machine. Realizing how to safely command the hidden mechanisms of your own body doesn't just improve your sleep tonight, it literally changes the trajectory of your entire life.